Hello, this is the fourth and final video for Smart Lab number 2. Leading off where I just was, we need to hide all this stuff. I'm going to hide them all. Hide all my existing traces. And looks like I still got the live trace going, so I'm going to hide that as well. And kind of starting fresh. Now, as I say in the instructions, if Smart does have a weakness, it's that it doesn't effectively display non-linear effects such as compression and distortion in this real-time transfer engine, transfer function engine. It actually, it can show up better in the Spectrum engine and even in the Impulse engine, which we're not going to use at all in this class, so I'm not going to show it to you. But let's kind of demonstrate how this doesn't work. We're going to go over to Pro Tools, and we're going to have to do some muting here because we're not going to be using these two tracks anymore. We're done with the. Actually, hold on. Let me follow the assignments. Let's experiment with this. Let's get rid of this EQ here. We're done with it. And if you try some compressors and other units in here, you'll see that it just doesn't. Where is our transfer function? Let's go back to live here. There we go. Put on a compressor and see what happens. Let's do something really well known like the BF76. And if I hit the limiter pretty hard, you can see I've gotten some gain, a little bit of phase shift in the lows, a little bit of roll off in the high frequencies, but it's not really showing any things. It doesn't show any non-linearities, any distortion, any of that kind of thing. Feel free to try some other plugins. I don't know. Just picking one here. Let's try the Joe Meek. Haven't turned that thing on in years. Let's compress it, and you can see it's not really doing all that much here. It's wigging out on the meter, but anyway, try something more dramatic like a distortion plugin. So I'm going to go to plugin. I'm going to look for harmonic, and let's try Sans Amp. Sans Amp always works. That's what I like about the Sans Amp. So this guy is a very clear distortion processor, but you can't really see the effects of distortion. You can see the effects of the EQ on the plugin, really the frequency change. So, if I add drive, which is kind of like high frequency distortion, it's going to raise high frequencies, but you don't see any more distortion per se. And so that's really the kind of limitation of the transfer function. It doesn't show the harmonic makeup other than just frequency response. Thing you might want to try and recommended to try, and please hope you're following along with me, is try a reverb plugin. This doesn't work very well either. I'm going to use Deverb. There we go. And what you're going to notice with this is that it's kind of just garbage. Really low coherence, very random here. Maybe I think I could slow the averaging down, but I don't think that's really going to help very much. It's kind of just garbage, and that's because a reverb, of course, is creating a lot of random reflections and phase cancellations and phases all over the place, and coherence, because it's random from measurement to measurement. There's a lot of inconsistencies. It's just not working. So reverb plugins don't actually work. So no bueno. So what does work is if you go to Spectrum mode, and that's the critical part of the assignment. Let's go to Spectrum mode. And now we're going to go over back to Pro Tools, and we're going to be done with the measurement and polarity tracks and turn on the sine wave track. And the sine wave track is just a 1K sine wave. Of course, we're on loop right now. It's coming out of input 1. Not going to use a transfer function. We're not going to use 2 inputs. All we need is input 1, my audio interface. There's the sine wave. There it is. And this is back to, you probably should be listening as we do these effects. And I turn it up and I hear it. And so it's up, and I'm going to turn it down for the sake of the video, but I do recommend you listen. And listen along yourself to input number 1. So let's put a distortion on it. Something that's really going to have major effect. And I would recommend the air distortion if you have it. I believe the air distortion and the Sans Amp comes in on every plugin, including every Pro Tools, including Pro Tools First. So I'm going to put on the air distortion. There's the one at the top. And I put it on the wrong plugin, right? I got to put it on wrong track. I got to put it on the sine track. So immediately you can see the harmonic distortion if I turn it up. I can hear the square wave that it's kind of creating. And while listening, do some playing here. Check out what soft clipping is. And I'm going to move this plugin out of the way. Soft clipping, a little bit darker in the high frequency harmonics, whereas hard clipping's got that extra grit on top. Play with the DC bias knob. You'll see right now that we have it at 1, 3. If this is 1K, then this is going to be 2K we're skipping. So 1K, 3K, 5K, 7K, 9K. You can see these are all odd ordered harmonics, symmetrical distortion. And if you go to DC bias, it makes it asymmetrical, and in come in the even harmonics. 2, 4, 6, 8, etc., etc. So it's kind of cool to play with this. And I recommend this plugin. You could do the Sans Amp or another distortion plugin if you want. But I would do some listening and do some tweaking. And when you are happy with how your your distortion looks and your distortion sounds, take a capture a trace of it. Boom. And what you need to call it is your first name. So in this case, it's Eric.distortion. And I've made this kind of fast for the sake of the video, but I recommend you play with it for a few minutes. You may want to check out some other things. Let me just show you something while I'm at it. Something I was intending to show in class. There's a compression plugin a lot of people really like called Smack. And I'm going to hide the distortion here, the trace we just took, and you can see it's a compressor, and if I hit it harder, it's pretty linear. It's making a little bit more distortion here as I get higher. Now this is an older plugin. Modern plugins might have more non-linearities built programmed into it, but this plugin, a lot of people like it, and it's got some interesting sound features here. It's got a little distortion circuit, and if I go to odd, I should get odd harmonics, right? Let's see what the instructions say. When enabled, distortion adds subtle third-order odd, second-order even harmonics, or both to the compressed signal. Distortion can be added to the uncompressed signal at the 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm expecting some odds and some evens. What happens here? Let's just reset this thing so it's kind of... Let's put it on odd. And I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's interesting. That's even harmonic. That's odd. This is giving me evens even when it's on odd. What if I go to even? Did anything change? Well, it just got slightly louder. If I go both, nothing really changed. Let's drive it. Let's change between it. Even. Odd. So the only thing that happens is really when you go to odd, this guy comes down by a few dB, the first harmonic. So I don't know about you, but this plugin's kind of BS in what it's telling you it's doing. And that's the whole purpose of this exercise, is to kind of hip you to the fact that you can measure your gear, analog gear, digital gear, whatever gear, measure it. So the last part of this assignment is pretty simple. I want you to measure something of your choice. Dig into your plugins, whether they're free or you got some fancy ones on your system, and pick one that's kind of cool, and dig in. And I don't really recommend reverb. I don't really recommend modulation, Leslie's and spinning speakers and pannings, because they're not really going to show up very well. But something like a distortion or something nonlinear like this, it's really got something interesting. I would go to my harmonic plugins and maybe see what Sans Amp's doing, or maybe if you've got some of these fuzz pedals or something. But give it a shot, and then tap your screenshot. You're supposed to name that screenshot a specific way. Your first name dot plugin name. So if you did the Sans Amp, you do Eric.SansAmp. And then when you're done, do a screenshot of that. So if I didn't mention earlier, you do need to make a screenshot of your distortion plugin. And you need to do a trace of your plugin of your choice. So you'll have 2 traces here. And you're going to need to have a screenshot of that. So it's actually 2 traces, 2 screenshots. In the end, this whole entire assignment is 3 screenshots. Okay? Hope this helped, and hope along with the instructions. Have a great day. Enjoy your Smaart.